Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Pleasure Principles. I'm your host, Sana, and today we are diving into a really fascinating and deeply personal topic: pleasure and sexuality. So often, our beliefs around these topics, they're shaped by our upbringing, cultural norms, or even past traumas, and they can create limitations in our lives. And to help me with understanding this and really getting out of them is Dr. Alan Salas, an expert in breaking the cycle of limiting beliefs so people can achieve vibrant health, harmonious relationships, and long lasting prosperity. Now, let me share a bit about Dr. Salas with all of you listeners. So, he is a number one Amazon best-selling author, a chiropractic physician, and also the creator of the very interesting mind clearing, body clearing, and goal and success clearing systems. And over the past 28 years, he has worked with over 4,000 clients across the US and Europe, helping them transform their lives holistically. So, with that, Dr. Salas, welcome to the show. And as always, it's an absolute pleasure having you with us.
Hi, bonjour, Sana. How are you doing? It's a pleasure for
Thanks.
me too.
Bonjour, bonjour. So, Dr. Salas, to begin with, let's talk about the idea of pleasure, especially sexual pleasure. So many people grow up with this idea that sexual pleasure is something to be controlled, hidden, or even ashamed of. We hesitate to even talk about it. So, why do you think that is, and how do these early beliefs shape our adult relationships and self perception?
Sure, I will add also sometimes it can be taboo, right? I mean,
Yeah.
taboo means things that you won't talk about that. And so actually, so what's defining our behavior, right? What's defining our feeling about pleasure and sexuality? What's defining our thought about pleasure and sexuality? And basically, they are our past experiences, right? So our past experiences can be good, right? I mean, of course, life can be enjoyable, right? But also
Mhm,
they can be more negative, right? And
mhm,
so, actually, when you look in depth into that, I always like to say that we live in two separate worlds at the same time, meaning that we've got the inner world and the outer world, right? And the outer world is our conscious mind, which is 5 to 10% our mind, right? It's our
mhm.
self identity, who we think we are. How do we experience pleasure? How do we suppress pleasure, right? What
Yep.
kind of sexuality we have, right? And so this is our conscious mind, and our subconscious mind. Just the job is just to um, basically record everything you have been doing in your life from age zero to now. It's also where your skills are stored at, and it's also where your automatic bodily system, like for example your heartbeat, your breathing, are stored. And yes, your mind can be programmed. So your mind can have negative programming, for example, about sexuality
Mhm,
and pleasure. You mentioned like a couple of emotion, like that, the shame,
yep.
and denying self pleasure because they think that sex is dirty or whatever it is. So those are caused by programming that you've got in your subconscious mind, knowing that the conscious mind is 5 or 10% of your entire mind, and your
Mhm.
subconscious mind is 90 to 95% of mind.
Hmm. Makes sense. Makes sense. And I think that really establishes the relation between our internal beliefs, and it. I think this really encourages to think inside out, especially for sexual pleasure, and also uh, people. Uh, when we talk about sexual freedom, then people intellectually believe in that, and yet they often still feel guilt or shame, probably driven by the reactions of others. So they just avoid to talk in front of them. So how can someone begin to shift those deeply ingrained beliefs?
Well, let's take an example. For example, so for example, there's a little girl that her mom told her that, sex is dirty, that men are only there to take advantage of her, that you have to be. So she does that overwhelming, right? She
Mhm.
actually put a fear and maybe the bad experience that she had on her daughter, right? I mean, of course, it's good to warm, to warn the daughter about, any things that can happen to her, but she's really overdoing it, right? So that little girl, especially around age 0 to 8, she's gonna be like a sponge, right? So she's gonna
Yeah.
assume that, oh, all men are created equal and all they want is to get in your pants, right? And so, which is not true, obviously. And so, what happens? She's gonna assume that, and with repetition from her mom, that's gonna become a program, right? And the program
Mhm.
is gonna be, at point, if she feels some shame and guilt or negative emotion, it means that that's a limiting belief, because you can have good programming and bad programming, right? So for
Mhm.
example, the good programming, so a programming that serves us, will be an empowering belief, and a programming that used to serve us for a while, right? And now it doesn't serve us. So maybe that little girl, when she grows up, she's gonna be like, overprotective. She's not gonna let herself
Yeah.
go. Maybe she won't have any pleasure because of her mom programming, right? And because she said,
Mhm.
"Oh well, pleasure. It's you're not being a good girl, or you're not gonna be a good woman if you express your pleasure." In some culture in Africa, they even, cut off the clitoris of
Yes.
a woman, right? So there's some cultural things also that happen around it, right? It's not only, it's the entire culture, right? And so, or if you have pleasure, maybe she can have that program. If you have pleasure with a man, more, right? And so, of course, it's not true, but now program, and so either she won't have sex at all, or
Mhm.
either she will have no pleasure, right?
Yeah.
Right? And so, who's limiting belief? The good news is like that programming can be corrected, right? Because balance is key in life, right? And like you say, true healings come from within out. So, I mean,
Exactly.
tapping into your subconscious mind, there's no more within than, than that in my book, right? So, what we can
Mhm.
do, let's see, with that example of that little girl, right, that grew up, and she, for example, cannot have orgasm, or she will be like very worry about sex, and things like that.
Mhm.
And so, what we can do, and this can impact the relationship, right? I mean, she can lose her husband over that, because man thinks they are loved, when they have sex. Women think they are loved when they got the attention, the from a man, and being heard, right? So it's more like
Mhm.
this in general, right? That's how masculinity and femininity work, right? And so basically, she can even lose a relationship. She can truly love that man, and after, the man will feel, oh, I have no sex. So he will feel that, oh, she doesn't love me, right? That's how, at the subconscious level, even at the conscious level, that's what he will get. And maybe they will divorce because of that. So that can have and if there's kids, that can have a big impact, right? So what we want, if that woman comes, and so I will tell her the good news, we can reprogram with limiting belief inherited for your mom, or culturally, or things like that. Like that, you can be free, and you can be balanced, right? I'm not talking to sleep with everybody obviously that you meet. I'm not talking about, I'm not talking either, but what I'm talking about, having no sex. So it's all extreme, right? So you want balance, right? And so, what we will do, there's 3 steps in the mind clearing, right? The first step, we want to delete the limiting beliefs that are not serving her anymore, right? That damage actually a relationship with her husband, right? So we want to
Mhm.
delete those limiting beliefs, and we want to, step number 2, replace them with empowering one, saying that it's okay to have sex, it's okay to have pleasure, you should enjoy yourself as a woman, like a man enjoy himself. And so that will be the empowering belief, for example. I don't know what she wants. It's really personal, obviously. And after, we want to make sure that you create that. You want to make sure that she's more open about having sex and be free while having it to express truly herself via
Mhm.
via sexuality.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, definitely sexuality is one of the component of very powerful component of expression. And
Yes.
secondly, I really like that you clearly distinguished between love and sex, because sometimes divorces happen just because it's kind of perceived that if husband and wife of their partners are not having sex, then they don't love each other. So that's a very important point you pointed out. And also, Dr. Salas, um, we think of, as I mentioned this, we think of pleasure as purely physical, but as you clearly explained, it's much more than that. So
Well,
in this
yeah.
mind, yeah, go ahead, Dr. Salas.
No, it's called courtship, right? I mean, you still don't want to lose that, right? So you mean there's different. You first have to have intimacy, right?
Mm,
Because if you don't have intimacy it means how close you feel, right? It's not only the touch intimacy, like you say, it's the mind. Are you engaging with your thought? Are you engaging with your emotion, and your behavior that match that, right? So you want to be there with a full heart, right? It's about the heart, right? It's not only about, and especially for women, because women's sexuality is so much more complex than men's sexuality. Trust me, I've been treating lots of women, and even like physiologically with the hormone, right? But it's all start in the
yeah.
mind, of course, and especially for women, for sure. Well, I'm not denying that. Of course, it's important for men too. So what we want to have what I call an open mind, an
Mhm,
open heart, and an open will. So what do I mean by that? When you do mind clearing, instead of staying in your head, right? Because right now, the way society is, we are taught to be all the time in our head, right? We need to resolve problem all the time. When you resolve a problem, another problem comes up, and so we cannot have peace of mind, right? And the heart is shut down. And the heart is and the feeling are obviously the major components about intimacy, right, and sexuality,
mhm,
right, the kind of sexuality that you describe, but it's more about being intimate first, right, and after the act of sexuality just comes naturally, right. So that's the difference between what they call a one night stand and being in love, right? So you have to be in love, obviously, and that's with love come with the intimacy, the feeling close to that person. In order to feel close to that person, you need to be able to express yourself fully. Especially for men, sometimes it can be challenging, but also for women, if you have a trauma, right, that's going
mhm,
to shut down your heart. So you're not going to be able to express your feeling, right? And it's true for both sex, right?
yeah.
Man or woman. So what you want, since we are too much in our head, you want a clear limiting belief, and now you become open-minded, right? So it means you've got more peace of mind, right? And so if you've got a problem, instead of seeing only one solution now or possibilities, now you can see more than one possibility, right? That's called being open-minded. When you do that, there's less energy going to your head, so and you fix some of your trauma because of your trauma associated with limiting belief, right? So you get rid of your limiting belief, the heart can open, right? And like I always describing, like, to me, it's a beautiful picture, open like a flower, right? And now you've got an open heart, so you can express your feeling. You can be in touch with deeper, much deeper with who you truly are, right? And after with open will, which is about your action and your behavior, which is more in the gut, right? Now you can take you can have desirable behavior and take good actions and have a good outcome. So it's very important to follow your heart in relationship, but in everything in life, actually. That's how you should make decisions. That's how you should act in the present with your heart as open as possible, right? And so, in order to do that, you get rid of those limiting beliefs as much as you can. Now you've got an open mind, you've got an open heart, and open will. So, how does it work? Let's see if you decide the decision is like, how am I gonna, as a woman, for example, am I gonna let go and totally on myself to be lost with to be lost and let go, to have a pleasure that I deserve, right? And so, in order to that, so there's different possibility to do that. Maybe you're exposed to, and you're gonna follow your heart, and your heart's gonna make the decision because your heart, when it's open, cannot be wrong. That's the way we make decisions. That's the way we should make all the decision all the time. But remember that heart is shut down, right? So we are more analytical, right? And
Yeah.
we don't allowed our feeling to take place, right? And to be a part of the decision making, to be a part of a conversation. So when we do that, now you've got your thought, your
Mhm.
emotion, and your behavior and action that are aligned, right? They are all working together. So you've got more positive thought, you've got supportive emotion, you've got desirable behavior, and of course, you've got productive action. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. And now a bit of a personal question. So your
Sure.
journey, Dr. Salas, is incredible. I mean, you have experienced both personal and professional highs and lows, from building a successful business to struggling with burnout and health challenges. So, how did pleasure, or maybe the lack of it, play a role in these experiences?
Well, we always say that we always, try to avoid pain and look for pleasure in general in life, right? And sometimes, having no pleasure in life, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to shock people, but I really think so because it's just pushing you to take action and to change. You know what? We judge a good experience or bad experience, it's only judgment. But maybe like the experience that I had for my business, having the cancer, and losing my relationship and divorcing was the best thing that ever happened to me. It really was, and so it's just about, I think you want to be like free, right? When you are free
Yeah.
in a good way, it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm free, so I'm going to be a butterfly and all that. No, it's just to be living in the moment, being in the present. That's what I call being free, right? And so that's how you can, in my book, truly experience real pleasure, conscious pleasure, if I may call that, right? It's just something that is like, it's just here, you living it, you breathing it,
Mhm.
you're embracing it. And you can do only that when you are fully present. And when you are fully present, that's when you've got full intimacy with somebody else,
Mhm.
right? You can share your feeling, you can nurturing that person, you can intuitively know what she wants or what he wants. And because it's about the ultimate sharing, right? I think
Mhm.
sexuality is the ultimate experience of sharing. And that can be also at its best, can raise your consciousness, right? It's an experience
Mhm.
that really can, it's like a fusion of two being, right? And so when you've got a conscious relationship, so what I mean by that conscious relationship, because I don't
Mhm.
know about that before. But a conscious relationship, it means you know why you are with somebody. For example, when I remarry, I told my wife three
Mhm.
things about, and that's personal. I'm not gonna say that here, but three things that's why we are together, right?
Mm.
This
Mm.
and this and that. Are you signing up? She said, yes, thank you. Thanks God.
Wow.
But at least we knew the deeper reason. We knew the programming behind it,
Exactly.
right? You see what I mean? We knew the limiting belief and the empowering belief that we had, and we knew that. I knew the role that I had to play in a way because it's still we are dancing together. We just I'm sorry to say that, but we play a role, right? But when you know your role and you embrace it because it's for the benefits of your spouse, that's wonderful.
Absolutely. I think this your journey is itself it defines a different perspective on pleasure, and I absolutely love the concept of conscious pleasure. And it's something very unique.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like being a conscious human being, being to have a conscious relationship, right? It means you know the deep causes, you know the deep reason, the why. The most important question in life is why. In my book, and the why come from the heart. Let me. This is important. We never talk about that. But the how
Yeah.
is in your head, right? How
Uh-huh.
how I'm going to do that, right? The why it comes from your heart. Why truly, what are the reason, what is my intention? The intention comes from the heart. Why I'm doing that, right? And after the what you're doing come from the gut. So what you're gonna create, right? What you're gonna create in life, right? So how you doing it, why you doing it, and what you're doing. What are you gonna create? And so that's how it connects with the head, the heart, and
Wow.
the hara, which
Mm.
means in Japanese, the gut. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a. I didn't know that actually. I mean, that's so simple and really makes it clear that how is in our mind, why it is in our heart, and what it is in our gut. Wow.
Yeah, I came up with that because it did make sense. I did develop, and that's going to be in a future book, an entire philosophy with the head, the heart,
Mhm.
and the hara. I call that the three H, right? And we can elaborate on that. I mean, there's so much to say, but that's really
Mhm.
uh, and one more thing, we talk about creation, sexuality, and can lead to, of course, to create another human being.
Mhm.
We even didn't talk about that, right? I think that's so important. So, in your head, it's you are
Yes,
peace.
please.
Yeah, I mean that's important, right? So in your head, you've got what peace of mind, right? That's a male characteristic. It's masculine, right? Every
Mhm.
man that I'm sure they want peace of mind. I guarantee you that as a man, I can relate, right? So you want peace of mind, and after, of course, the femininity is more in the heart, right? It's your feeling, to express your feeling. So it's more like a feminine,
Mhm.
right, trait. And after the creation is the combination of the masculine and feminine. In order to create a baby, you need to
Mhm.
have a sperm and the ovum, combining together. And it's in the belly on top of that. That's how women obviously carry a baby, right? So it's
Yeah.
really it just makes sense. So you want the masculine and feminine to create. So if you are fully conscious, if you've got a conscious relationship, if you've got a
Mhm.
conscious sexuality, so that's going to create more than likely a conscious human being.
Mm. Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, wow, Dr. Salas. So, uh, I think this has been such a unique, different, enlightening conversation on pleasure. And I think we touched down upon different perspectives, different understanding of pleasure, along with the body, mind, and gut alignment. So, of course, if our listeners would like to connect with you, how they can.
Well, they go to my website, it's called themindclearing.com, www.themindclearing.com. They go to the contact form and they can communicate with me. Also, there's my email, address there, and I will give them 20% off of the treatment of mind clearing because it's good to know about things, right? We can talk about that, Sana, forever, right? It's good
Yeah.
to have the knowledge, but you need to apply the knowledge. And to experience the work, that's true knowledge, because that's how you know and you realize how powerful that work can be for you, right? And so, in the same time, I truly believe that we are on earth to become the better version of ourselves, right? That's the main reason, that we are on earth. That's what I believe in. I may be wrong, right? But so you always want to grow, you always want to transform myself, you always want, and in order to do that, you need to, oh, and to do that like quickly and deeply, you need to have an open mind, an open heart, and an
Mhm.
open will, like I described. And when you do that, you're more connected to your spirit and you think more positively, you've got more supportive emotion, you've got more desirable action and more desirable behavior, I'm sorry, and so therefore productive action in your life.
Lovely, lovely. That's such a beautiful and apt conclusion to this conversation, Dr. Salas. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your personal journey with all of us and teaching us the importance of pleasure in our life. Thank you so much.
Uh, Thank you, Sana. It's always a pleasure talking with you for sure.
So for those of you listening, if today's episode has resonated with you, I encourage all of you to check out Dr. Salas' work and his mind clearing system. You can refer to the show notes along this episode. And we all learned today that pleasure isn't the absence of struggle, but it is a necessary part of a full, meaningful life. And if someone wants to connect with Dr. Salas, just refer to the show notes. And until next time, stay curious, stay open, and keep exploring what pleasure means to you. Thank you.